Derbyites, it is one of the high holy days for us Oscar lovers. Nominations have been announced and we have lots to talk about and to pick over. We're going to have two slightly acting categories. Andrew Carden, Tony Ruiz and Amanda Spears with me. We are the A team. Let's go through our favourite nomination from today in the acting categories. Tony, I'm going to you first.
Mary J. Blige, not just because I love her and I love Mudbound, but because the thing that we were most concerned about, I think, going into the nominations was that the Netflix factor would hurt Mudbound, and it didn't. It didn't get in for Best Picture, which I wanted, but just the fact that Mary J. Blige is nominated just makes everything worth it, because I think she's fantastic in that movie. So that was my favorite one.
Andrew.
For me, it was nominated. I actually had a fair share of problems with Phantom Thread itself, but I thought she was pretty extraordinary in it. And, you know, as somebody who loves Mike Leigh films, you know, for me, it's almost something of a makeup nomination as well for her not getting in for another year a number of years back, which I personally think she should have won the Oscar for. So I'm really happy to see her with the supporting actress nomination.
And Amanda.
I'm just happy that Woody Harrelson got in, because I know it's been a good 20-something years since that happened, and he was a very deserving nominee.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, that was probably a close call for him in that pretty tight category. For me, I mean, I've got a lot to celebrate over the 4 acting categories, but just was Daniel Kaluuya, because I just had this sneaking suspicion that maybe he might have missed out. I don't know why, because he's done pretty well in the precursors. Completely knocked me over, and I didn't know really him very well at all. I didn't even know he was British, and now I'm really discovering him as an actor, and he was nominated. I know he probably doesn't have a shot at winning because of the Gary Oldman train, but anyway, he is there about that. So now that we're being so positive, it's so boring. Let's go to let's be really super negative now, and let's talk about what we didn't like. What was the one thing in the acting categories that just really pissed us off? Amanda, this is a perfect category for you. I want to hear it. What are you annoyed about?
I'm actually not really annoyed with any of the acting categories, because I got 19 out of 20.
Come on.
Right?
Wow,
so, but I think, you know, as far as like annoyed is concerned, I'm a little surprised with Best Picture, with Gary Oldman being able to probably push The Darkest Hour into the top 9, because I think there are more deserving films. Frankly,
okay. Well,
that kind of pisses me off. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to be angry about, but I'm mad at myself for giving up hope on Mary J. Blige. I took her out and I put Holly Hunter back in, so I had 19 out of 20. So I can't be too angry.
Like Amanda, you've said in the past that all have Netflix subscriptions, but maybe other branches, other award-giving groups don't. It looks like finally Netflix has broken through with this nomination for Mary J.
You know what? With the Netflix thing, like, as far as I'm concerned, forget what Amazon did last year. What they did and able to get Rachel Morrison into that cinematography is worth 10 Best Picture nominations. Honestly, that and Best Original Song should be the only things they're pushing for.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll talk about the other subjects.
I know. Sorry.
Andrew, what did you think of the acting? Was there anything that kind of annoyed you?
I wouldn't say I was annoyed. You know, I like all these performances. There's not a bad one among them. The Meryl Streep nomination doesn't much excite me. I don't think it's among her weakest performances, but I think it would have been more fun to see somebody like a Jessica Chastain or even an Annette Bening in that slot instead. You know, she's in fine form, but she's certainly been in better form. And, you know, somebody who wasn't in love with the Post, I just think it would have been more interesting to have, you know, a surprise nominee in that 5th slot instead of Meryl getting her 21st nomination.
Well,
okay. And Tony.
I certainly have more that I'm annoyed about. I find the omission of Holly Hunter really infuriating. Not just because I had her in, but because she's so good in that movie. I think Denzel Washington's nomination is a makeup for him not winning last year, because let's face it, nobody thought that film was very good. They just liked him. But the fact that performance beat out Franco and Tom Hanks. I mean, Franco, you can have two thoughts about that at the same time. But I just feel like that's going to be looked back on as like, they nominated him for kind of like the same way we look at Meryl being nominated for Music in the Heart.
Of the Heart.
Yeah.
And
yes.
and of course the complete lack of any supporting actors from Call Me by Your Name. Those omissions just make me sick. So.
Yeah, like I felt very bad for Armie Hammer and Michael Stuhlbarg. I really, really wanted to see at least one of them in there. I knew that it was not likely, and I'm very, very disappointed about that. I know it's a tough category, and I can obviously, Christopher Plummer probably took that last slot, and well deserved, but by Hammer and Stuhlbarg were pretty amazing, with some of the best things about that film, and so it sucks that they're not here. I've got a lot to complain about, because I frankly really wanted to see Judi Dench from Victoria and Abdul. She didn't phone that one in. It's a very, very nuanced and actually slightly quite funny and charming performance from her. This is Dame freaking Judi Dench, man. She should be there. Victoria and Abdul kind of overperformed, but the actors obviously just didn't take to it. So we've got performances, like a lot of excellent performances out there that were not from same olds that we've seen throughout the season, and I would have loved to have seen something a little bit more out of left field. Leslie Manville gets us there a little, but the rest of it to me is just very much like, okay, we've been there, done that. So there was a bit there that I was unhappy about in terms of snubs, but you can't really complain about this list. It is what it is.
Can we celebrate that the same amount of women are represented in the Best Picture nominees, in the Best Actress? 4 out of the 5 Best Actress nominees are in a Best Picture nominee. Yeah. The same as the men. I'm sorry. I know you love when I get all riled up, but it's just really hard. Yeah, I would love Holly Hunter to get nominated, but it's really hard when they did such a good job overall.
Yeah.
They really did.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because in many years you get the Best Actress lineup is from, relatively obscure films that don't really do well elsewhere, because they're searching to find some performances they can throw into the mix. This is definitely not the case this year. A lot of these films are female driven. It's very fitting in this day and age of what we're seeing throughout Hollywood and across other industries, that women are now taking more of a stand, and that's all fantastic. It's really, really good. And even the performances themselves, like Margot Robbie plays a really ballsy Sally Hawkins, she's a mute, and you'd think she'd be meek and mild. She's really not. She takes that film kind of by the balls. And Frances McDormand is just a force of nature. Like, those three alone, even Saoirse Ronan plays a really rebellious, strong female character. And Meryl Streep, obviously, plays that iconic female role. So it's a very, very good year for women. I want to see more of that. And I'm glad that you brought that up, Amanda. Tony, Andrew, do you have any thoughts about that angle?
I think we want a positive one. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited.
I think it's kind of a shame that I, Tanya, didn't get the Best Picture nomination, because then you would have had all 5 Best Actress nominees hailing from
I know, but you can't get everything. So.
Which hasn't happened since 77 with Annie Hall, Goodbye Girl, Turning Point, and Julia. I mean, it's crazy that it rarely happens like that. It's just like nuts.
Yeah. Tony, any thoughts on
Well, I guess my only thought is what a great problem to have, that we're actually seeing that many Best Picture nominees represented in both the lead and supporting actress. 3 of the 5 supporting actress nominees are in Best Picture. So, and you combine that with the fact that that you've got Greta Gerwig and Jordan Peele in directing. You combine that with the fact that you've got Rachel Morrison in cinematography. I think the Oscars are paying attention. I feel like they're actually really paying attention to what's been going on, and they're responding to that.
And the great thing about these actress nominees is they are the lead of their films. They're not co-leads with a guy. No offense to La La Land last year. We're talking about 8 different movies, which is kind of, incredible. Sorry, I just love being the positive one for a change instead of the Debbie Downer who's really pissed off. This has been a great day for
I'm very